Hello, today we're going to look at section 2.1, the addition principle of equality, in chapter 2, equations. Whenever we see an equal sign, we have what's called an equation, which has an expression on either side of the equal sign. So as an example, x plus 2 equals 3. On either side of the equal sign, we have expressions, x plus 2 and 3. X equals 1 is what's called the solution to the equation, because when we substitute it into the equation, both sides are in fact equal. X plus 2 would become 1 plus 2, and 1 plus 2 is in fact 3. So we get 3 equals 3. In order to find the solution to an equation, we make use of what's called the addition principle of equality. It says that if the same number is added to both sides of an equation, then the resulting expressions are equal in value. But you have to be careful. You have to make sure you actually have an equation and that you're adding the same number to both sides. So in mathematical form, it means that if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. And we use this principle when solving certain types of equations. So we're going to do a couple examples. The first one is x plus 3 equals 5. So our goal is to find a solution which looks like x equals a number. So our goal is to find that number. To do that, what we need to do is, quote unquote, get rid of the 3 on the side with the x. And we do that by using this principle, this addition principle of equality, and the fact that 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. So because we want to get rid of that 3, what we can do is we can change the 3 to a 0 by adding a negative 3. But we have to be careful and make sure that we add the negative 3 to both sides of the equal sign. So we get x plus 3 plus negative 3 equals 5 plus negative 3. And then again, we know that 3 plus negative 3 is 0, and x plus 0 is x. So we get x on the left-hand side, and 5 plus negative 3, which is 2, on the right-hand side. We check our answer by substitution. Is 2 plus 3 equal to 5? Yes. So we have checked our solution by doing substitution. When you have an equation of the form x plus some number equals a number, like our previous example, you want to add the opposite of that first number, that a, to both sides. Again, the idea being that a plus negative a equals 0, and x plus 0 is x. Don't forget that you should always, always, always simplify each side of an equation before you start solving for it. Solving for it should always happen after any type of simplification. So let's try the following. 12 equals x plus 9. So again, what we want to do is get rid of that 9 on the side with the x, which happens to be on the right-hand side this time. It doesn't matter which side of the equal sign has your variable. The idea is, and the goal is the same thing. So the opposite of 9 is negative 9. So we're going to add negative 9 to both sides of the equal sign. And if we do that, we'll get 3 on the left-hand side and x on the right-hand side. So x equals 3, or 3 equals x. And again, you should double check it by plugging it in. Is 12 equal to 3 plus 9? Yes, it is. Let's try another one. 1.5 plus 0.2 equals negative 0.3 plus x minus 0.2. So before you start trying to add 0.3 to both sides or add 0.2 to both sides, again, you should always simplify first. So what we're going to do is we're going to add like terms that we can on the individual sides of the equal sign. So 1.5 plus 0.2 is 1.7, and negative 0.3 minus 0.2 on the right is equal to negative 0.5. So after simplification, we get 1.7 equals negative 0.5 plus x. And then to get rid of that negative 0.5, again, we add the opposite of it. The opposite of negative 0.5 is positive 0.5. So we add 0.5 to both sides of the equal sign. 1.7 plus 0.5 gives us the 2.2 on the left-hand side. And negative 0.5 plus 0.5 is 0. And again, 0 plus x is x on the right-hand side. And again, you should double check it. Plug it back into the original equation, that first one on the very top, and make sure that what you get is actually equal. Now we know that adding a negative number is the same as subtracting the positive value. So instead of adding a negative 5 each time or adding a negative 9, we can simply subtract the 9 or subtract the 5. So with that in mind, we're going to do 2 more examples. So C, 1/5 plus x equals negative 3/10 plus 1/2. So again, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify each side of the equal sign. Now the left-hand side we can't really do much to, but the right-hand side we can simplify. We can add those 2 things together. In order to do that, we need to have a common denominator. So I'm changing 1/2 to be 5/10. Multiply the top and bottom by 5. And then negative 3/10 plus 5/10 is 2/10. And then again, to get rid of that 1/5 on the left-hand side, we would add a negative 1/5, which is the same as subtracting 1/5. So we're going to subtract 1/5 from each side of the equal sign. So 1/5 minus 1/5 on the left is 0, and again 0 plus x is x. And then on the right-hand side, we again need to have common denominators. So I'm going to multiply the 1/5 by 2/2 to get 2/10 minus 2/10. And we get that x equals 0. Again, you can go back to the original equation and plug in 0, and you should get 1/5 on both sides of the equal sign. And then lastly, part D. Negative 1.3 plus 4 equals x minus 3.2. So again, before you start adding numbers to both sides, subtracting numbers from both sides, simplify everything you can on each side individually first. So negative 1.3 plus 4 is 2.7. So we have 2.7 equals x minus 3.2. Then we're going to add a positive 3.2 to both sides so that they will cancel out on the right. And 2.7 plus 3.2 is 5.9. So we have 5.9 on the left and x on the right. So x equals 5.9. And again, you can always plug it back into your original equation to double check. Is negative 1.3 plus 4 equal to 5.9 minus 3.2? You should always, always, always double check your answer. So on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a good night.